Is the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra worth it in 2024? Well, let's find out after this. What's going on, everyone? You're tuned in with Spectacular Tech. Right here we have the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra that came out in the year of 2020. This was the last Samsung phone to be branded as the Galaxy Note before Samsung transitioned that model into the Galaxy S Ultra phones. But when you bought a Galaxy Note, you didn't just buy a phone, you bought the best phone Samsung had to offer. But let me go ahead and unbox this phone, and I have to mention, and with Samsung, they wouldn't just give you the entire kitchen, but they'll throw in a personal chef as well, which actually means you got everything when it came down to features, things that you needed, and things that you didn't even know that you needed. Now I'll take out this wall plug. It should be a USB Type-C wall adapter in 25 watts. Now, putting that off to the side, let's take a look at this paper box position in the middle. Appears to be nothing special. And finally, let's get to this top section, which should include a double-sided USB Type-C cord. Wish it was braided though, but hey, we also get this paper manual under this cord compartment. Now, I'll put this paper divider back in the box along with this wall plug, and last, the paper top cover. With this Galaxy Note, this was the last year that Samsung put a wall adapter in the box with their phones. With models after this one, they only come with just the cord. It really is a shame that it all started by this fruit company that started the trend of all brands removing cell phone accessories from the box when you purchase a brand new phone. But let's get on with this unboxing since we're almost done. Pulling this paperwork out seems to be a bunch of manuals. Okay, let's see what we got. First, a carrier quick start guide showing a quick rundown what this phone can do. Then a paperwork talking about cloud services. Then last, a terms and condition paperwork. But nobody cares to read any of this paperwork. Then we have the SIM card ejection tool, nothing special. Alright, now that we're done with the unboxing, let's go ahead and put everything back together. I'll slide this compartment back inside, grab the lid, and now I can finally close this box. Now let's get this box out of here and bring out the phone. Now let's finally focus our attention over to the cell phone. On this Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, we're working with 1440p WQHD display that is capable of running at a refresh rate of 120 Hz. And also, if you're wondering about the screen protector I have for this phone, this is an AM elastic film. It sticks perfectly around the curved edges, it's smooth to the touch, it's very affordable, and I have a link to it in the description if you want to check it out. Now on the back of this phone, we have a glass back and we're working with 3 rear cameras. And slowly focusing in, we have a wide 108 megapixel camera. Then we have a 12 megapixel telephoto camera. Then last, we have a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. In addition to this laser sensor that helps the main camera focus better and this flash. I never had any issues with this camera as the 108 megapixel camera by default pixel bends those shots into great 12 megapixel images. You can also change the camera setting if you want to shoot in the native 108 megapixel resolution. But with pixel bending technology of this large camera sensor, you can still get a great shot even when shooting in low light. That's a good picture, but how about this fingerprint sensor? Now, under the display of this Note 20 Ultra, it has an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor. It unlocks every time with a slight tap. You can register up to 4 fingers, and it's great if you don't want to deal with a face recognition sensor. It even works great when your hands are wet, so unlocking it out in the rain or after a swim won't be no issue at all. But for a 4-year-old phone, it's very quick and responsive as the chipset running in this phone in the United States is a Snapdragon 865 and anywhere else outside the United States is running an Exynos 990. And as I mentioned previously about the 120 Hz refresh rate display, it makes scrolling and animation just that more smoother when operating the phone. And you can see this phone has not lagged once with the 12 GB of RAM this phone offers, while others only offer just 8 GB or less. That's more than enough RAM to keep all your apps open in the background so you can go back to them later. If you never had a 120 Hz display, you don't even know what you're missing out on. It makes scrolling through social media posts and websites buttery smooth. So you definitely don't have to worry about this phone being slow since it's older. But if scrolling around the OS and performance is quick and responsive, how does it perform when it comes to gaming? Well, just as fast and responsive as before. You definitely won't see a reduction in speed of this phone while gaming. Going over that ramp with a ridiculous spinning stunt like this would most definitely tear your car up in real life with you in the hospital for weeks or months if you survive that stunt. But with some of the games that you play, you may have to check the settings because some of them do support playing them at a higher 120 Hz refresh rate. And with the 4500 mAh battery of this phone, it'll definitely keep you gaming longer. Even though the game looks good being played on this phone, do keep in mind that it will drain the battery faster than normal usage. So what about watching videos on this phone? Well, honestly, content looks amazing on this 6.9-inch WQHD display. And despite having a punch hole cut out for the camera, it's so tiny it doesn't take away from the viewing experience. In YouTube, I can change the video quality to take advantage of the higher resolution, while also it gives me the option to zoom into the content to get a close-up of something being shown. In addition, if you're watching something in direct sunlight, this phone can get as bright as 1500 nits, so that's definitely bright enough for you to see something on the screen outside. But how about a sound test now? Yeah, that's loud for sure. Alright, the next one. Now, one more. Yeah, you definitely will hear these speakers, but how about battery life? For a phone that I had for 4 years, my battery life is still pretty exceptional. The 4,500 mAh battery is large enough to last you the entire day with normal usage. In addition, Samsung has software features in place to prevent the battery from aging too aggressively. By charging only to 85% and not letting my battery go under 20% worked wonders for my battery health, making my battery last as long as possible after all these years. But since I'm on the topic of battery, I have to mention that this phone supports reverse wireless charging with its internal battery. And after it's enabled, you just lay the phone down and then you'll be able to charge your friend's iPhone or any other wireless charging device. Now let's transition to talking about software on this phone. So let's first check to see if we have a software update. And I see that we do, and it's automatically downloading, so I'm going to let it download and see what we get updated to. And just know factory unlocked models directly from Samsung usually get updates faster than carrier models. And we're on One UI 5.1 Android 13. It's always a concern when using an older phone about software support, and despite this phone's age, Samsung has been really good in keeping this phone updated with security updates, but unfortunately it won't be receiving Android 14 or later. And this isn't a Galaxy Note review without talking about the ejectable S Pen. Pressing the button pops the top out so you can then pull it right out of the housing. When it's pulled out, it automatically gives you a list of different options that you could perform with the S Pen, like jotting down a quick note. This S Pen has a very responsive latency when writing, and some people can even manage to draw pictures with this S Pen. Now, I'm not an artist with this tool, but I'm writing out something very simple, like this is the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. This can be very useful when writing out a list of groceries to get, or if you're in class and taking down notes. And that's not even it. You can obviously browse the web using this S Pen, scrolling up and down different articles, and if you want to select and copy some text, you get more precision while using the S Pen. And with the click of a button on the S Pen, there's an option for a magnifying glass to make sure you see everything on screen, from text and all images zoomed in on the display. The S Pen also has a sensor to detect where you're pointing it without you having to touch the screen. Like how you see where I'm able to scroll up and down. If I'm tired of this little S Pen icon, I can click and drag it to the bottom of the screen. And with a quick press of the button on the S Pen, I can get that list of S Pen options right back. On this list, we have Create a Note, View All Note, Smart Select, Screen Write, and Live Messages with Translate, Bixby Vision, then Magnify, Glance, and AR Doodle. Now let me show you, when your screen is off and your phone is locked, you can still get that phone number real quick by pulling out the S Pen and writing it down without needing to unlock your phone. So you're not missing a chance of getting a phone number down when you're carrying a Galaxy Note, just in case that person's in a rush. But most importantly, make sure you click Save at the top. And to access the number that you just saved, go over to Samsung Notes and it should be the most recent file saved in the top corner. You can even convert your handwriting to text if you wanted to. And that's pretty much it with the S Pen. You can control anything on the phone on screen and a lot of features remotely. Now whenever you're done with the S Pen, make sure you slide it back inside the body of the phone, something that important you don't want getting lost. Sometimes the phone can warn you if you leave it behind, but not every time. Now finally, let's take things outside to see what these cameras can really do. It's time to start the camera test. We have 3 cameras on the back. I'm starting first with the wide 108 megapixel camera. And after snapping the photo, let's check the photo result. The photo of the tree is very sharp with a shot pixel bent into a 12 megapixel image. Now let's change this camera setting and shoot in this phone's native 108 megapixel camera mode. Alright, let's try this again and let's shoot in a much higher resolution to see if we get a noticeable difference. Snapping the photo, going to the gallery, and let's see what we get as the result. Double clicking to zoom in a little bit. I can see that the leaves on the tree look a tad bit more sharper, but I don't see too much of a drastic difference. But how about something that's close up with the wide angle camera? Well, I have it back in its default 12 megapixel mode. Now let's see what result we get for this bush. And after zooming in, I see that every leaf on this bush is in focus and even the mulch under it. I've done a lot of greenery. Let's take a picture of something different like this red stop sign. After the photo, click on the gallery. Now let's check the result. And after clicking to zoom in, the photo is just as sharp as before with details all around the stop sign. Let's take a photo of one more thing with the wide angle camera before moving on to a different camera. Take another picture and I'll click and go over to the gallery. And when zooming in, I can see that the red really does pop on this fire hydrant. Now let's move on to the 12 megapixel telephoto camera with 5x optical zoom. I'll see how far I can zoom into this target sign to get a snapshot photo. With the telephoto camera, you can zoom in as much as 50 times, but it will be digital zoom. And when zooming in this far, it's great that you get this little display screen off to the side to see where you're pointing at in the photo. And when zoomed into almost the maximum zoom, the photo didn't come out too bad of this target sign. Okay, let's try this again, but this time let's zoom in to something much further into the distance. I'll zoom in and I'll keep on zooming some more, and now I'll take the photo. Click on the gallery and let's see what we got for the camera result. And after double clicking, I can see that the text is perfectly readable. Alright, let's try zooming into something else. There's a Chick-fil-A all the way out in the distance. Let's see if I can get a close-up of the sign on the building. Again, with the telephoto camera, I'm going to zoom in as far as I can. I see that there's a light pole blocking the sign from this angle. I'm going to take the picture anyway to see what result I get. Now I'll double click to zoom into the bird sign. In this photo, it seems like only the sign and pole are in focus rather than the leaves on the tree. And since I'm taking a photo of a bird sign, let's get a photo of an actual bird. I see a bird out in this parking lot. Let me get a close-up. This camera can really be a telescope. Not even something as small as a bird can hide from this view. Alright, gotcha. Let's see what we got. It couldn't hide from this camera. For camera zoom this impressive, don't be a peeping Tom now, looking through some ice window from the distance with it. Last, let's check out the 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. Snapping a photo of this parking lot, let's see what we got. Double click, the photo didn't come out too bad. I see that it was able to capture more of the environment in this entire shot. But let's try taking a picture of something else. And immediately, as soon as I press the ultra wide camera, you can see how much more is showing in the camera viewfinder. Let me double click, but this picture didn't come out too bad with the road, cars, and trees in focus. But how about the front camera? Now on the 10 megapixel front camera, it gives you the option to zoom out to fit another person in frame, and is able to record in a resolution of up to 4K 60 frames per second. Let's record some video on the rear wide angle camera at 4K 60 frames per second. Also, you get the ability to pause and resume recording, which iPhones still can't natively do. In addition, it's great that it tells you at the top how much you can record before you start running low on storage. On top of that, you can also turn the front camera on without stopping the recording. And I know somebody's going to be curious to know, while recording videos, you can zoom in for that close-up. If zooming in far enough, it's going to automatically switch between the wide angle camera to the telephoto camera. I'm zoomed in real close to this Noodles and Company sign on the side of this building. If I'm zoomed in, I gotta be able to zoom out to back where I was originally filming at, and then stop the recording. Oh, and one more thing. Instead of just 4K at 60 frames per second, this phone can go up to 8K at 24 frames per second. Now let's start video recording at 8K on the wide angle camera. And just like before in the previous 4K resolution, you can zoom in to get a close-up. Recording in 4K is usually sufficient enough for most purposes, but unless you have an 8K TV, it's not really necessary to record in this resolution, since with only that device you'll be able to notice a difference in quality. Oh, and can't leave out, you can control the camera with the S Pen as a remote shutter. And not just taking photos with the S Pen, you can press the button on the S Pen to start recording, and you can press it again to stop recording. In addition to being able to control which camera activates with different motion controls. But other camera features include swiping over video and swiping again for more. We got Expert RAW, Pro, Single Tape, Panoramic, Food, Portrait Video, Pro Video, Super Slow-Mo, Slow Motion, Hyperlapse, and Do Recording. Swiping back over, we're in video mode, and swiping again, we're in photo mode. And one more final swipe, we enter night mode. And since we enter night mode, let's go ahead and test that out. And now that it's night, let's start with a telephoto camera to see what result we can expect of this McDonald's sign. In the viewfinder, the sign is so bright you can't even read the text. I snapped the photo anyway. Let's go ahead and view the result to see if the text is readable. It's a little bit better than what I saw in the camera viewfinder. Also, here's another angle so you all can see the McDonald's sign a little bit better. That better be $1.99, not $1.99, or they're crazy. How about taking a photo of something even brighter than that McDonald's sign, like this street light? I took the photo, and immediately I noticed it's nothing but a glare from the street light. But when viewing this from a different angle, the photo looks much better as I can see the square shape of the shining light. So how is the ultra wide camera in low light? I'm going to see if I can get that entire gas station in frame in one shot. Now switching over to the ultra wide camera, I'm going to take the shot. In low light, sometimes it takes a few seconds to process the photo. Alright, let's see what we got for this camera result. Well, the gas station lights are looking blown out. Well, hold up now, the photo must need a few seconds to process. Now things are looking much better. I can see just the moving car being out of focus. But last, let's test the main wide angle camera. I'll take a quick snapshot of this green bush, letting it low while the photo is being processed. Now, let's see how this bush came out. It came out pretty good. The leaves on the bush are in focus, and even the mulch. Here's another angle for you all to view this camera result at. It took a good photo with everything nice and sharp. But enough with the camera, let's take it back inside to talk about some of the accessories. I talked about the Amfilm screen protector earlier in this video, but the case I've been mainly using is this transparent OtterBox symmetry case. This case is very easy to install by snapping it on the back of the phone. And what is great about this case is slim and compact and gives great drop protection. There is a rubber lip around the entire perimeter of the screen if it falls on the front, and the back of the case is hard shock resistant plastic. But I highly recommend you get a case since there's breakable glass on the front and back of this phone. Glass still breaks no matter what the manufacturer calls it: Gorilla Glass, Victus Glass, Superman Glass. Now, if you made this far, let's talk about some of the features that make this model superior to any newer model Galaxy Ultra. This is the last Samsung flagship phone to support MicroSD card expansion after they removed it with the next generation. This was one of the best features not just on this phone but on any Samsung flagship phone. Just knowing if you bought a lower capacity model, you could expand your storage up to a terabyte, which is 1000 gigabytes of storage. Now what is really funny is how Samsung sells microSD cards on their website but doesn't support the functionality on their phones anymore. Kind of ridiculous, but anyway, I'm using a 512 Samsung Pro Ultimate microSD card with read speeds of 130 megabytes per second and write speeds of 200 megabytes per second. I have a link in the description if you want to check out this microSD card. Next up, Samsung Pay, or renamed as Samsung Wallet. Even though the Samsung Wallet is available on newer model Galaxies, the Galaxy Note had a special trick every time it was used. And that special trick is called MST, which stands for Magnetic Secure Transmission. Models after this one only support NFC or near-field communication, just like the iPhones or other Android phones. But what makes this feature so compelling is when you're at an order payment terminal that doesn't accept NFC tap to pay. MST is able to send a magnetic signal to the card reader to make the machine you swipe your physical card. All you would have to do is tap the glass back to the area where you swipe your card at, or if it's a newer card reader that accepts NFC, you just tap the area where it's specified at, as this phone also supports NFC as well. While some locations say they don't accept devices that only use Apple Pay or NFC only, you will still be able to use tap to pay with the addition of MST. Now having both NFC and MST was notably this phone's best ability. Finally, the last topic of this video, and that is cellular connectivity. I'm on 5G and using the AT&T network. I'm going to do a cellular speed test, but let's make sure the Wi-Fi is turned off. Connections, then Wi-Fi, and I see that it's turned off. We are ready to start. I'm going to do this test in the standard Samsung internet browser. And in my area currently, I have about 3 bars of 5G coverage. Open the browser and let's go to Facebook. It loaded pretty quick. Now let's try Amazon. Let it load. Let's see. It came up pretty quick. Now let's try Samsung. Let it load. Came up pretty quick again. Now let's try YouTube. Let it load again. You get the idea. You definitely won't have any complaints when it comes to network connectivity, as this phone supports sub-6 GHz and millimeter wave 5G. So the Note 20 Ultra is loaded with all the hardware necessary for you to get the best network performance. But let me wrap this video up and answer the question I asked at the beginning of this video. Is the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra worth it in 2024? I say absolutely. It has great cameras, a large display, S Pen, great battery life, micro SD card support, and more, all to make it an excellent choice. Well, there you have it. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one on Spectacular Tech.